Finally time to build a new deck. I was thinking dragons.
12 seconds later.
Wait a minute. Are these spellcasters?
Right. There. Let's go! There.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video. This one is just going to be kind of going through a card pack. I wish I had started it before I picked the pack, but you'll be able to see the covering of it and everything. It's Witchcrafters, and surprisingly enough, I've never heard of the deck or the archetype, but I've played around with the deck after getting the cards, and I've gotta say it's one of my favorites. It's not the most like solid or concrete, but it definitely just like throws people off, and I can't stop coming back to how great Yu-Gi-Oh! Is because of that. Typically, you'll run into people who are all just using metas, but then, you know, on more rare occasions, you'll run into people who are using decks that, like, you know nothing about. And so when you run into them, you're like, oh, this person isn't using a meta deck. I have no clue what it does. And I think that's the crazy part, because I've gone against some of the like Egyptian god cards and just absolutely like wailed on them with this deck, and I'm like, that's kind of crazy, because those decks are like no joke sometimes. And while I know those aren't like necessarily meta decks, they are still like very strong and well put together, especially since they've been around for such a long amount of time. People have really been able to like take what they like and take what they dislike and really give it time to be fine-tuned. But no, this Witchcrafters deck, there are also a lot of Magistress, I think that's how you say it, Magistress cards in there as well. And both of these archetypes, their sub-archetypes, if I'm remembering that properly, are spellcasters. And I don't know, I never like really looked at Yu-Gi-Oh! And went, oh wow, the spellcasters are cool, except for maybe like the Dark Magician cards. So when I started like considering this deck, I was like, alright, you know, like it probably won't actually turn into much, but like at least you'll have a completed deck, and it seems kind of interesting. But the more I started reading card effects and like understanding how things would trigger together with other cards, the more I started to understand that with the right combination, like, this could be goated. So as I'm going through all the different cards and everything, like I'm trying to read as quickly as possible and kind of get like a base understanding of what each of these cards do. Because the hardest thing is when you get a bunch of cards and then, you know, they go into like your storage per se, and you don't remember what any of them do, so you just kind of overlook them, and I didn't want that to happen. So I try to make sure to like at least get like a glimpse of what something should do, and then even then I still forget what things do or how things work. But at least for the most part, I'll understand, okay, I did have a card that, you know, could destroy all my enemies' monsters face up. I think that's Raigeki. So like understanding what those cards can do, and you know, just like giving it a little bit of reading can definitely help when you go to build new decks. And actually, now that I think about it, I should probably add a couple cards to this deck. I think I might consider... I don't know, you guys want to actually see a fight? No, not yet. Because, like, I don't want to put a fight up if, you know, I'm not ready for it. But, I don't know, I'm feeling confident about this. Like, I think this deck will work. I am definitely not, like, the best deck builder. But I feel like I think I understand how these cards work well enough to the point where I can kind of get it to do what I want it to. This might be a completely like uphill battle, but I think I'm ready for it. I added some stuff where you can like really swing, but it takes a bit to get to the point of swinging. I can explain once we jump into the fight, but for the most part, a lot of the cards that are in this deck aren't really meant to be played like head-to-head power-wise, but you're supposed to use their, you know, their enemy or your monster effects to either negate or just completely destroy your opponent before they can attack you. So it's kind of like a counter deck, but I'm just gonna call it my Nope deck. Yeah, video's a little short, so I think I'll tack a fight on. Hope you guys enjoy. So, believe it or not, it actually took me a couple days to build this deck, and even with like this video, I jumped into this fight like for the sole purpose of just testing out the deck. Like you'll see, it's just a recording, but like I jumped into this fight just to test it out, and I'm like, all right, you know, I'm just trying to really understand how I want to play my cards together. I could have gone to solo, but I don't know, I feel like I play a lot better when I'm actually going against people. So I was like, yeah, alright, I'll just jump in here and see how it goes. And so I start out the battle, Fusion Monster right off the bat. I don't really understand why I chose to Fusion Summon twice, but again, this is why I went about it this way, because I was like, alright, I'm still bad with the whole like fusioning of monsters, and so I figured, okay, best thing to do is, you know, use a deck where I still practice it out a bit, and yeah, so I kind of made a major mistake right off the bat, and lost my fusion monster. Did clear his field, but he got a blue eyes out, and I had next to nothing. And because I didn't understand how everything in my deck worked, I was just kind of like, alright, this has an effect. I kind of read like what I can do, but I'm not entirely sure how to activate everything. So no, I got bodied pretty badly at the start. I'm already down to 2,000 life points, and it's what, only turn 6. Like, no, I was getting wrecked out there. I'm just like, all right, you know, stay calm, keep it steady. You got a monster card out there. If you take a hit from this blue eyes, as long as he's got nothing else, you're good, you're solid, you'll survive. What I didn't realize is that the Witchcrafter Golem, if a monster, okay, let me try not to butcher this. If you have a spellcaster monster that is about to be attacked, and you have Witchcrafter Golem in your hand, you can summon her out to the field, and she can send any monster back to the hand. Now the cool thing about this is she goes back to your hand at the end at the start of your opponent's main phase. So I can keep recycling this effect as long as I have just one other spellcaster out on the field and my opponent not attacks, as long as they don't, So I reread the card and I actually did get it wrong. It's any monster effects, card effects, or monster attacks that will trigger this card. It can activate basically on anything that actually targets a spellcaster. But not fusion summoning, XYZ summoning, if I'm saying that wrong, like if they say it differently, can someone let me know? Because I feel like XYZ summoning doesn't sound exactly right. But I did have a few of those cards in my deck. Again, like I just built this over the last couple days, so like I was still working out some of the minor bugs here and there, and I'd never seen this deck, I'd never heard of it, so I was like, alright, there's a lot of stuff that I'm, trying to learn on the fly here. But I had so much fun kind of, getting to the point of like understanding what everything does and really like figuring things out on my own. And yeah, I haven't quite turned the tide of battle or anything, but the fact that like I was hanging on for dear life only a few turns ago, and now I'm like, taking the lead by I want to say by storm at this point. I'm not being like arrogant or anything, but like he went from having a monster with 3,000 power, attack power, and I don't even think I have a monster that goes above 3,000 in this deck. And I think that's there's so many like beauties of this deck, because there are so many different things where you're just like, you can't actually like do anything unless you get your card effect. And so it's super risky, but it's so rewarding if they can't do anything against you. Alright, and so when his turn came back around here, as soon as I saw that egg pop into the, from the graveyard into the banished, I was like, oh no, this is not going to go well. And I started to like severely panic, until I realized that he couldn't actually get a Blue Eyes out on the field yet, and I was like, alright, I don't have a lot of time, but like I gotta do something right here, right now. So the Magistrate's card that I just played in the middle, can't remember his name, but I'll put it up on the screen for you. What he can do is he can attach other cards to himself that are the Alistairs. I'll try to put that card that I attached to it as well on the screen. And the cool thing about those is that like they can make you indestructible, they can make you able to destroy a target, you can get a boosted 1,000 attack and defense, and like these are for any of my monsters, because they're actually no, not any of them, only the Magistrate's monsters. But I have so many of those that like it really doesn't matter. And I get so excited about this. But the amount of like sheer terror that I had gotten when I saw that he summoned my Witchcrafter Golem, and then I remembered, duh, Ethan, it would go away anyway. It would come back to his turn and he'd lose the monster anyway. So there was nothing that he could do. And I'm not saying they were a bad player, like GG's to them. The only difference between our decks was that I had stuff to negate and get rid of their monsters regardless of their attack power, and he had nothing that could clear my field. And yeah, again, like it was a really good fight on both sides. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and let me know if you enjoy being able to like see me draw cards for a deck and then go and use those. I actually had a lot of fun with that. It did take me a bit longer because I had made the deck from scratch. But if that's something you guys want to see more of, kind of like a challenge, I'd totally be down for that. Maybe we do like a single draw pack and we have to use every single card that we draw at that time. That would actually, that would be sick.